He was not lost. He was not inexperienced, and he did not plan to disappear. Yet somewhere in the vast wilderness of Idaho, an experienced hunter walked into the forest and was never seen again. What makes this case chilling isn't just that he vanished, it's how completely the land erased him. No calls for help, no trail leading out, no clear explanation, just silence. Idaho's wilderness is unforgiving in a way few places are. It stretches for millions of acres. Thick pine forests, steep mountain ridges, deep ravines, and remote valleys where the human world feels impossibly far away. Cell service disappears within minutes. Trails fade into animal paths. Weather can change without warning. For hunters, it's paradise. For search teams, it's a nightmare. Every year, people enter these forests with confidence, experience, and preparation. Most return home with stories. Some return shaken. A few don't return at all. This is one of those cases. The hunter had spent years navigating difficult terrain. Friends described him as methodical, cautious, and deeply respectful of the outdoors. He wasn't someone who took unnecessary risks. He planned his trips carefully, checked weather reports, and made sure people knew where he was going. Hunting wasn't just recreation for him, it was a ritual, a quiet escape, a way to reconnect with something older and simpler. On the morning he disappeared, nothing seemed unusual. He left before sunrise, as hunters often do. The air was cold but stable. No storms were predicted. The forest was calm, wrapped in that early morning stillness that makes even experienced outdoorsmen pause. He drove his pickup truck to a familiar access point near a remote hunting area in central Idaho, a place known for elk and deer, far from major roads and tourist trails. The location was isolated, but not unknown to him. This wasn't his first time there. He parked his truck along a dirt road near the trailhead, locked it, and stepped into the trees. That truck would later become one of the last undeniable pieces of evidence that he was ever there at all. The hunter was last seen that morning by another outdoorsman passing through the area. There was no conversation, just a brief visual confirmation. A man in full hunting gear, calm and focused, moving deeper into the forest. No sign of distress, no sign of urgency. Nothing that suggested this would be the last time anyone would ever see him. Hours passed. The forest swallowed sound the way it always does. By late afternoon, the hunter still hadn't returned. At first, no one panicked. Hunters sometimes stay out longer than expected. They lose track of time. They follow game farther than planned. But when night fell, and there was still no word, concern began to grow. By the next morning, worry turned into alarm. The authorities were contacted. Search and rescue teams mobilized quickly. This wasn't treated as a casual delay or simple disorientation. An experienced hunter missing overnight in Idaho's wilderness is always taken seriously. The first step was obvious. Locate the truck. It was exactly where it had been left. Nothing appeared disturbed. The doors were locked. No signs of tampering. No indication that anyone else had been there. It looked like a vehicle waiting for someone who would never return. Search dogs were brought in to pick up a scent from the area around the truck. Handlers expected the dogs to take off down a trail or into the forest, following a clear path. Instead, something strange happened. The dogs picked up a scent, and then lost it. Not gradually, not after miles of tracking. It simply stopped, as if the hunter had walked forward and then vanished into thin air. Teams spread out in every direction. They searched riverbanks, ravines, and dense tree cover. Helicopters scanned from above, their blades chopping through the still air as rescuers looked for any sign of movement, any unnatural break in the landscape. They expected to find something, a dropped item, broken branches, footprints in soft earth, but the forest gave them almost nothing. Days passed. Searchers grew exhausted. The weather remained relatively stable, removing one of the most common explanations for wilderness disappearances. There had been no sudden storms, No extreme cold, no flooding. The hunter had been well equipped, so where was he? As the search expanded, investigators began to feel something unsettling. Not fear, but confusion. People don't just disappear like this. Even in vast wilderness areas, there are usually clues, a mistake, an accident, a trail that leads somewhere. In this case, there was nothing. No blood, no torn clothing, no equipment. It was as if the hunter had never existed beyond that parked truck and a single sighting. Volunteers joined the search. Fellow hunters, locals, people who knew the land intimately. They walked miles of terrain, calling his name into the trees, listening for any response. Nothing answered back. Only wind, only birds, only the quiet. Eventually, search efforts were scaled back. Not because hope was gone, but because resources were exhausted. Every reasonable area had been checked. Every likely scenario had been considered. There were no remains, no final location, no answers. The case shifted from search and rescue to mystery. Investigators reviewed the facts again and again. Experienced hunter, known location, stable weather, no evidence of injury or struggle. So what could have happened? Some theories suggested an accident, a fall into a hidden ravine or thick undergrowth. Idaho's terrain can conceal even large objects from view, but search teams had checked the most dangerous areas extensively. Others wondered if wildlife could have been involved. The region is home to predators, but such encounters usually leave unmistakable signs. There were none. Another possibility was disorientation, but this hunter knew the land. He knew how to navigate, and even lost individuals usually leave some trace. This case had none. As weeks turned into months, the story faded from headlines, but not from memory. Family members were left with questions that had no answers. Friends replayed that morning again and again, wondering if something small had been missed, something insignificant that had somehow changed everything. The forest kept its secret. Years later, hikers and hunters still pass through that region of Idaho. They walk the same trails. They hear the same wind moving through the trees. Most never know that somewhere nearby a man vanished. Not dramatically, not violently, but quietly, completely. And perhaps that's what makes this case so haunting. Not what happened, but how little evidence it left behind.